welcome back. I hope you're doing okay. I would love to chat about my two recent additions to my stationery collection, which are my plotters. A couple of weeks ago, I had a chance to go to the California Pen Show and see the plotters in person, and had an opportunity to acquire one plotter from their regular lineup and then a customized plotter, which is super exciting. I'm gonna go ahead and just get started with my personal plotter. I use this A5 plotter for work, so I'm just gonna put this to the side for a moment. So this is my personal Bible size plotter, and this is the Pueblo leather in navy, and it comes with gold finishing. If you take a look at the leather, you'll notice that there's texture, and that's intentional. This leather has been brushed with, I believe it's a brass brush, to create these like nice circular like areas of texture, and it's lovely, and I'm very much looking forward to see what this is gonna look like as it patinas. I'm now going to go through the inserts that I'm using in my personal size plotter. So I do have the ring protector here. I do recommend getting a ring protector because if it matters to you, it will prevent how much the rings end up indenting your cover. I don't mind that too much. I do love a good wear and tear. However, I also learned that this protects your rings in the event that you ever drop them. So it's just this piece of leather that you press onto the system of closed rings. This is the plotter zipper case. Similar to the ring protector, it presses on to the closed rings. I don't know if you can see that here how it's pressed on and not necessarily inserted like these inserts. Next is lifter with band closure. So I've been using this as a dashboard of sorts, and this is ultimately what you can use to close your plotter. I find that my plotter is quite thick, so I definitely use the band for closure just to keep things secure. And following that, I do have the monthly diary insert. So this is a dated insert for all of 2024. And the next insert I have is the writing board here. That is super handy. You can take it out, and then it also has this like raised section here, so you can see if you want to put it on like a daily page. Like I put this behind my daily pages, my daily logs. It's nice to have the indicator here. I do have a couple of plotter project managers, which I'll go over in some detail later. And I do have lifter with pen holder, and I will say that this is a very great quality pen holder. I just really love how snug and secure my pen is in here. However, I do not think it is fountain pen friendly. It is pretty narrow in terms of the pens that could fit in here. I'll just grab a fountain pen real quick so I can show you what that looks like. Here are two separate fountain pens. This is a Sailor Pro Gear, and this is the Pilot Vanishing Point. So if we try putting the Pro Gear in here, you'll notice that there's a lot of resistance. I have difficulty pushing this all the way in, so I wouldn't say that this is necessarily wide pen friendly, which I noticed that most fountain pens are quite wide. And if we do a similar test with the Pilot Vanishing Point, because it's more narrow of a pen, it does go in a bit further, but I do have, I'm sure you could eventually put this in and get it to fit and train the leather, but it's not worth it for me. This is my planner, so I do need to be able to easily hop in and out, and that does include my pen experience as well. So as you can see, this Sarasa pen just goes in so easily. So just a consideration if you are a fountain pen lover and want to get this insert, you may want to consider maybe a different pen alternative. Folks can put their pens in here if they don't mind it being a little more loose. I personally would not stack my pens this way. I'm a little precious about my pens, but it's possible if you want that as an alternative. But I'm sure there are other pen holders out there that would be able to accommodate fountain pens as well. So now that I'm done just talking about the plotter inserts that I have purchased, let's talk about the paper for a second. The paper that I chose to fill my plotters with. So if you are interested in filling your ring system with plotter paper, Plotter has like several different types of paper. I just got the majority of them. One of them is the blue memo pad paper, where it has this 2mm grid, but also these quadrants. And the paper is fountain pen friendly, honestly all pen friendly. I haven't had any issues with pen on this paper at all. It's been fantastic. I also chose to pick up the plain refill memo pad, and this is pretty thin paper but very durable. I've been watercoloring on this paper using fountain pens, using Tombow Fudenosuke markers, and there is like very minimal buckling when I use watercolor. There's minimal ghosting. I just think it's a very luxurious thin paper. The way I've been describing it is if MD paper had a baby with Tomoe River paper, it would be this DP paper, which is a proprietary paper that Plotter has created. I will note that the paper is cream. I know that some folks are team white paper versus team cream. I'm team cream, and I do think this is like a very lovely option to have just for quick notes, sketching. It's very versatile. The one that I use the most, as you can see, it's like in comparison, I've really been using this a lot, is the 5mm dot grid. And as you can see here, it's pretty like nice, like a subtle gray dots. So what I love about it is from far away, I love the 5mm because it does make all my print look neater because there's more negative space. I'm coming from a Hobonichi Weeks where we have the 3.75mm grid and it's teeny tiny, and I do not have tiny handwriting. So I do find that I love how my handwriting looks on this paper, and as you can see, I've been using this most of the time. And then Plotter does have dated diaries, so they do have like the weekly schedule, which this is what it looks like. It's really similar to Hobonichi Weeks in that it has that line, that subtle line. So I've seen people put events there, priorities, important things there, but it also has this timetable as well if you want to be putting schedules in for the day, scheduling tasks during a given time. But the biggest difference is that on this side, it does have those definitive lines versus the Hobonichi Weeks. It was just all grid paper. And what I wanted to show you about the weekly insert is that it's also not on blank paper. It's on, let's get a sample here. I don't know if you can see this, but it does have the very subtle 2mm gray grid, which I find super helpful to try to write in straighter lines. So I've been using this as a health and wellness log in my personal plotter, but I do think this is a very versatile insert that you can use for planning, journaling, memory keeping. I just love that there's a lot of flexibility with what you can do with this specific insert. And then I have the monthly. So I think I have used, I put the entire month in my plotter, and I'll go into more detail about what, like how much of each dated section I decided to put in. but let's see if you can see. This is an example of what a monthly looks like. So compared to the Hobonichi weeks, naturally it's larger in size already because the personal size is bigger than the more narrow Hobonichi weeks. But what I really love about this is that there is a lot more space in the months. Like, I found that I was just cramming a lot into the weeks, but I feel like this is like very spacious. And depending on how many days are in the month, you do have like variety in the to-do lists, the amount of space that you get. So I will say for this one, you have a lot of extra space for like future logging or notes or just priorities that you need to put in the month in the to-do sections here. But I will say the amount of space you get for these sections vary. And then I guess my one teeny tiny gripe is how small the weekends are, because I do find that I have more events on the weekends. So you'll notice that when I show how I use my monthly, that it does get a little crammed in there because this space is so luxurious. Not a game changer though, because what I find is that I have way more stuff to write in the weekdays versus the weekends. So not a deal breaker for me. The next insert that I picked up in the personal Bible size are these project managers. So I think it's really lovely that first of all, the quality is just fantastic. It's thin, but it feels very durable, which you definitely want to find paper that's both durable and thin for the plotter system, because with the rings, you're constantly flipping, so you want your paper to be able to be durable, but because it's 11 millimeter micro rings, you just want to be careful about how thick the inserts are. So this has a Gantt chart on the inside, which is fantastic. I haven't been brave enough to actually write in there because I just think they're too pretty to use, but I will use them eventually. I just think it's too new. It's only been a month, so I'm just gonna wait a little bit. But I think this is nice to be able to like organize like different projects, different sections, different collections, if you're a bullet journaler. But also if you want to pass around your plotter or like your ring system and you find that you just want to keep some stuff private, I do like this from a privacy perspective too, instead of having to like rush to cover it up. It's already closed. And it comes in a variety of different colors. I think it comes in a pack of 6, and then I'm currently using 2 in my personal size, but I highly recommend these. I really quickly want to talk about 2 narrow size inserts that I got. So I had the pleasure of meeting April from Penguins Creative at the Plotter table at the California Pen Show, and one of the pieces of advice that she gave me was getting the narrow size in the to-do list specifically, but in other inserts as well, to be able to use in the personal size. So I'm just quickly going to flip to where I'm using a narrow size just for reference. So right here, I have my weekly master task list and just like high level events that I want to call out for the week. And what I love about this is that I can still see my dailies behind this. So I do like that it's this like condensed list, this more narrow list. There's just something about it that makes me feel more productive. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone but me, but I'm going with it. And what I love about this is that when I'm done with the tasks that week, I do not need to reference this again. I'll just tear it out and toss it. But I'm having a really great time with putting narrow specific pages in here. And I also do the same in my A5 as well. But what I decided to pick up was the to-do. This is my favorite insert next to the 5mm grid. What I love about it is its potential, its versatility. So how it's intended to be used is a to-do list. So you would put your task here, and then it breaks down what percentage completion you have completed for that given task. So you can like keep a running tab till you eventually get to check that to-do off. So I definitely have used this as a to-do list, but instead of using the range here of like completion of a task, I just use these boxes to label the days of the week. So I have it labeled as Monday through Thursday, and then I clump Friday to Saturday in this last box. And then I'll soft schedule using the Alistair method when I will try to get that event done. That task done. So I think this is a super versatile insert. I had a friend mention that they would probably use it for like financing, like if you wanted to like turn this into your checkbook where you're balancing your cash flow. I just heard of that idea the other day, and I was like, I'm totally gonna do that because I do have a finance tracker in my plotter. So I'm just I cannot say enough about this insert, and it was really funny because I was like, I don't need that, I just need a dot grid. No, I absolutely love this. It just saves you so much time for having to build or like actually draw out a spread, and I just think it's really versatile. So highly recommend the to-do list in any size. I will definitely be picking this up again. And then I just got the plain and narrow as well. Again, it's just nice just to have that that more condensed size in your book. It kind of stands out like a sticky note would. Like I use this when it's like temporary but important and I need to reference it. Something about it being a different size helps my brain understand the priority of why it's there, and then makes me more aware of those priorities. Again, maybe it's just a me thing, but I find it to be super duper helpful. Next, I would like to talk about my plotter setup. So as I mentioned before, I came from a Hobonichi Weeks, and what I really valued with that setup was having an annual monthly section, having the opportunity to have a weekly section, and then the note section in the back. So I more or less mirrored that type of vibe, but I have, just because rings are a modular system, I have organized it in a different way that benefited me. So how am I using my plotter? So as I mentioned, this is my personal planner, and in addition to normal run-of-the-mill planning and tasks, I also have my wellness and my finance logs in here, as well as my daily logs. I do the bullet journal method where I will plan future tasks ahead of time and do my best to hard schedule them on a day using my daily log. And then in addition to my daily log Taskmaster, I use it for light memory keeping. So I'm currently using my Zippy to hold my pencil board because it's I have oily hands and just like sweaty hands sometimes. I like to have a writing board down when I'm writing, but I also find that I am making spreads, drawing lines a lot, so it's nice to have this easily accessible to just have as an accessory. And then I use the lifter with band as a dashboard of sorts. So I just put my word of the season here, which is reflect. And then I had this jasmine hanging out in my wallet. I take it everywhere with me. I decided to convert it to a sticker using packing tape and just put it on here. And I love the vibes. It's very tonal. It's very natural. I love it. And this is my vision board for the year. And then these are just my intentions for the year, and this is my word of the year, which is surrender, so I can remind myself that I am capable. So this is with the monthly diary that I mentioned to you, the dated monthlies. It does come with an annual calendar. So what I use my annual calendar for is marking when I have time off, whether it's PTO or paid time off from work, and then green if I took a sick day. Just to remind myself, like, look, you have a lot of time off, don't worry. Probably should schedule some time off in April and October since it's looking pretty sparse. And then on to the monthly section. So this is March, and as I mentioned to you, how it works for me is that I use the to-do section for my future log or just high priority items I want to make sure I get done that month. And I do use each day as like a true, like I have events happening that day, appointments happening that day, birthdays to remember, just significant things happening that day. And then I'm also tracking book releases so I can remind myself to add things to my TBR. This is an example of more of a clean page. As I mentioned earlier, it does have this note section, which is fantastic, but it does vary. The amount of space you have for notes will vary per month, depending on how many days are in the month and how they line up. So as you can see in March, you have a little more room here, but then in April, a little less room. In May, like a little less room. So just keep that in mind. I have not been negatively impacted by that so far, and I imagine that if it did negatively impact me, I would just maybe write a little smaller. So not a deal breaker for me. So that's how I'm using my monthly section. My next section are my dailies, which are my favorite section. I do create like a monthly vision board, so a lot of vision boards, a lot of indicators to just remind me like how I want to be proceeding in life. And my word of the month is going to be respond, learning how to respond with love versus reacting. And so at the beginning of my daily log section, I just have my monthly vision board, as I mentioned, and then that lovely to-do list. As I mentioned, I use the Alistair method, and then I'll just future plan like all the things I need to do that week. And then, as I mentioned, I will soft schedule it using an open circle of like when I'm going to do that task or when that event will be, and then I'll fill it in once it has occurred. With the exception of events, I just fill it in immediately so I know like around what time the events are, and then I'll put the date next to the actual event itself. So I do love this insert. I find it to be super functional. And next are my daily log sections. So I did decide to put all, I think it's like 15 pages in to capture 30 days of the month. I'm just going to take out this writing board real quickly so you can see. This is the bulk of my system. Next to my annual monthly calendars, this is the bulk of my system here. And I'm mentioning that because I do think I lean more towards a stuffed plotter versus a not stuffed plotter. And I don't mind it. One of my biggest concerns about migrating to this system was worrying that I wouldn't have enough space with the micro rings, but I knew that anything larger wouldn't be for me because I did appreciate how portable the Hobony 2 Weeks was. So I definitely wanted something small and portable, narrow, all of the things. And I'm just like pleasantly surprised that I'm able to fit all of this at a given time. So as I mentioned, my daily logs are like truly like events and tasks that I have to do with light memory keeping. This is one of my favorite spreads so far. And check out how well this paper holds up with watercolor. Like honestly, like seriously, I think pretty minimal ghosting, pretty minimal buckling. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like really impressed, especially considering how thin this paper is. It holds up so well. So yeah, daily logs are the bread and butter of my system personally because it keeps me organized, but it keeps me like super engaged with my day. Like I love popping in, updating things, adding things. It's a really organic process. The only thing that remains consistent is that I put my to-dos and my events on the top. So that's my daily section. My next section is going to be my wellness log. I'm not going to show everything because it's a little private, but the things that I'm tracking are, what am I consuming? Am I walking? Am I moving my body? Am I drinking enough water? Am I doing habits that are going to enrich my life? Like, am I going to be journaling? Things that just help me stay grounded and focused. So I did clip some things that are a little private, but I just wanted to show you the weeklies in action. So how I've been using it is that I've been tracking what I'm eating here, and I just created like a weekly habit tracker here, and then just like a dashboard here in terms of how am I feeling today, or this week, like were there any triggers that I need to be aware of, any injuries, just like a health dashboard. But because a lot of that information, in my opinion, is private for me, I won't be sharing that. But again, that's like the benefit of having this project manager, is that because it is private, I just feel a lot more comfortable knowing that it's in this section. But also from an organizational standpoint, I love that everything with regard to my wellness is in here. And the second project manager section I have is my finance section. Again, it's private, but it's pretty run of the mill. Like, I have finance goals. I do have like a checking, like balancing my checkbook section, just to be mindful of my spend, and just some annual collections of monthly spend, monthly miscellaneous spend. Again, just to be more cognizant of how I'm spending. And my next section are just going to be my collections. So I have miscellaneous wish list, journal wish lists for other people, like what I want to get them. My next section are just my logs, so just adulting chores, archive logs, date log, coffee shop log, and then gifts that I've received and given, and then just a bucket list of things that I just want to do. And then this last section is like my reference section. I call it like my evergreen section, that things I likely won't take out because I want to refer to. So like this is like a takeout list, so I don't have to do the brain damage of thinking like, what do we want to eat for takeout? Like, I have the list already. Same with like meals that I like to eat. Like, if I don't want to put the brain power into meal planning, I'll just reference this. And then same with any lifting that I like to do. I just like write down some workouts that I know are like easy to do, that I don't have to think about too much. And this is my TBR. And then this is just miscellaneous messy notes section. And so all of that fits into my 11mm rings. Let's get this to focus. Here we go. And she's quite stuffed. So I just want to show you like my experience flipping through. I really don't think it's she's definitely, I'm just gonna focus this. Okay. She's definitely stuffed, but I don't think she's inconvenient right now. You see how it stuck a little bit when I did that, but once I get to the middle pages, it becomes easier to turn. So I'm really impressed with how much I've been able to fit in here. So just wanted to show you my experience with opening and closing the rings. So let me just open to like a relative middle section. Maybe like this. Okay. And then so I can very easily pop open the rings very smoothly, and then just easily close it. I don't know about you, but you won't catch your wrist in the actual rings like I used to do all the time as a kid with those giant 3-inch binders when we had in school. And it's a very smooth opening and closing experience. I think a lot of what you're paying for, because I do think that this is a higher price point in terms of stationery, I do think you are getting very high quality rings, very high quality leather. Like, this is made to last. You can absolutely tell. And I just wanted to show you, like, this is what it's looking like in terms of the rings. And I think I could fit more in here. So this is, let's see if we can focus this a bit more. Here we go. Yeah, like, am I maybe a little overstuffed? Maybe. I'd probably fit like another 10 to 15 pages in here pretty easily if I wanted to, but I don't need to, because as I mentioned, let's get this to focus. As I mentioned, I do put the entire year in here in terms of monthlies. I do 1 month worth of dailies at a time, so there'll always be about 15 pages in here. And when I'm done with the month, I take it out, I archive it in a different binder, and I don't keep this. Like, this is rotating. I change it every week. And then these sections are also, I put a month worth of weeklies in here, and I'll rotate them out at the end of the month and put another set of weeklies in for the month here. And this, the checkings, like once I'm done with that page, I'll rip it out and like I'll update it with a new page. So basically what I'm trying to say is that the real estate is accounted for. So I think the only variables I'll have is what I deem to be like needed to be in this reference section, like this evergreen section of notes I'll need to reference over and over again. So far, not too much, but I've only been in here for about a month now, so we'll see how this evolves. Overall, I think that if you are the individual that really appreciates good quality, really great quality stationery, you are needing flexibility and modularity in your system, and you don't need to carry your entire life with you, just very specific parts of your life with you, I think Plotter is for you. Plotter is marketed as something that is like more geared towards like projects, like specific focuses, and I think that's why it focuses on like bringing only what you need, but having the modularity and the flexibility because things change. You get new projects, life changes, you come up with new goals, etc. And what I love about this book is that there's just so much you can do with the system, with all of the inserts that I mentioned, all the different types of paper that are available to you, the inserts. This is a very versatile system in my opinion, and I love that they have all these different types of paper because I'm lazy and I don't really like drawing out my spreads. And so this has really enabled me to still just focus on the planning and the experience versus having to set up my spreads, which I'm not particularly fond of. I was nervous about going into a ring system because I know that a lot of people create their own spreads, they cut, they print. That was definitely not something I think I had the ability to do because just time was of the essence. So I'm really grateful that they have these inserts, and I will be repurchasing these once they run out. So that's the overview of my personal plotter. I'll show you my A5 plotter. It's literally set up exactly the same way, except it's for work. So I can't show you too much about the insides, but I can just talk about how I have it set up. So this is my A5 plotter, and I had the opportunity to get a custom plotter made at the California Pen Show. Takayuki Saito is there, and he is the creative director of Plotter. He basically invented Plotter, like Plotter is his baby. And so to have him there putting together these books by hand with the intention to customize it for you, like I cannot pass up on that experience. So my customization was this is called the Scratch Shoulder Leather in gray. So again, it does have that that brass brushing that occurred on the leather, so it's very textured and stunning. And I decided to get rose gold finishings with it. And Takayuki very kindly wrote my last name on the back. He was doing that for anyone that asked if they wanted a drawing or their name on their plotter. If you had an eligible leather, some leathers were too smooth, mine was eligible. And I just think it's so special to have this bit of customization, and like, I don't know, it was a beautiful moment. I can't speak more about it. The one thing I will point out about the customization process is that the hardware on the outside, unless you get silver, won't match with the hardware on the inside. So I asked Takayuki why that was the case, and he said that the silver rings was the most durable. So to me, like, I'm gonna be a fan of like long-term, long-lasting products. So I personally don't mind that this doesn't match here. But if you do, just keep that in mind. If you ever want to go through the customization process, perhaps you just get the silver outerwear. So I can't really show you like the meat and potatoes of how I'm using this, but I'll show you blank. sections, but it's pretty much set up in the same exact way as my personal. So I do have the zipper case. I don't have the ring protector, but I am going to get one. And I do have the lifter with bands again. And let me just pop you over to a blank monthly section. So I do love how much room you have in the monthly section, and I don't work on the weekends, so I actually have converted this section into like a future log section. So they have this section here called weekly tasks, so I will put what I want to prioritize that week and what my focus should be. And then this section I just mark off with a line, and I just white this out, and I literally call it like monthly focus, and I'll write down all the things that I need to focus on that month, like very similar to how I use my monthly section in my personal. Next section is the weekly. So what I've been doing is there's that very delicate gray line here. So I'll put my priorities for the week here, which does mirror the priorities for the day. Apologies. I'll put my priorities for the day here just so I know like what I should be focusing on so I don't forget. And this section is where I'll actually be putting like meetings and just like color coding the meetings just so I can know what type of day I'm going to be having. And then here I'm doing like an Alistair method master task list, like so very similar to what you saw in my weeks where it was like Monday through Sunday. I have Monday through Friday, and I'll soft schedule tasks, but what I do is that I'll put like the project name here and then all the sub events that need to happen, all the subtasks that need to happen. So I have been putting like a project per little section here, broken out by the day. But I don't know, like I've been playing around a lot with this section in terms of like how to make it work for me. And I'm so sorry I can't show you what it looks like, but it is private information. So unfortunately I can't do a deeper dive into what it looks like filled out. So the next section is my daily section. Yeah, and then I just have it be like an open log. So I'll date it, I'll put my events, I'll put my tasks, but most importantly, it's where I take notes for all of my meetings, and I'll color code them based off like what type of meeting it is. So I can easily reference back to it if I need to reference back to the notes. If I find that the notes that I'm taking is like a collection, I do have my project managers broken down. So I have like my 3 projects are HR related projects, engineering related projects because I support the engineering org, and this is employee relations because I'm in HR. Those are the things that I do. So if I find that I need to like have evergreen notes around something in each of these topics, I will migrate the notes over back here. So and the way I have the notes written is like in order of date. So if I look at the bottom of that specific section, that's the most recent note I have regarding that topic. So that has been working for me. So that's how I'm using my work A5. And again, I have very similar inserts. So I do have the writing board here. I have the project managers. I showed you the paper that I was using for my notes. I'm using the 2mm grid for the notes, and the monthly and the weekly sections for work. Again, I'm so sorry that I can't show you more in depth about how I'm using this. Maybe I'll do a mock-up one day with the extra dates that I have, but you get the gist. Overall, I am just so happy with the peace that these planners have given me. I mentioned in my stories, if you follow me on Instagram, you can find me at harp.archives. I was talking about how my life was changing so rapidly and it was a little chaotic both at work and at home, that I needed a system that wasn't in a bound book. I was tipping pages in, I was abandoning collections because it wasn't serving me for that purpose anymore, drawing new collections, and I was having trouble like flipping through the book, figuring out where things were, and my life didn't feel organized. So I knew that I needed something with more flexibility and modularity, but something that was portable and long-lasting, and something that just got me excited to engage with work and engage with my day. For me personally, Plotter hit all of those check boxes. And like I said, I was really worried about how small the micro rings were going to be because I'm more of a maximalist than a minimalist. But 1 month in, the system is working quite well so far. And I've just gotten a pretty inexpensive A6 size binder to archive the things I want to archive in my personal. And I'll be doing the same for the A5. Like once I get to an archiving stage, I'm just going to get an inexpensive binder to just save that until I figure out my long-term plan with archiving. And yeah, I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to message me on Instagram or like just mention anything in the comments below. We'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thank you so much for spending the time with me to go over Plotter and how I'm using it. I hope you all are having a great day and will have a great week ahead of you. Happy journaling, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye.